Welcome, everyone. This is episode 11 of Where Are You Shopping in Your Relationship? I'm Mariquita Solis, and alongside me is the co-founder, Linda Tilson. We are the creators of The Last First Date. So today we're tackling a major, highly requested topic that almost every couple faces. Is it okay to have close friends of the opposite sex when you're in a relationship? So, our episode is titled The Architecture of Boundaries, Opposite Sex Friendships. So, when it comes to outside friendships, the issue usually isn't the friendship itself, it's about emotional investment, transparency, and how that relationship impacts your core partnership. So, without clear agreements, innocent connections can create unintentional friction, erosions of trust, or boundary links. So, we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. So let's hear the first talking point, Linda.
Yes, first I'm going to say this is definitely the hot topic of all relationships, just as you said. And the reason why that is because of the first point I like to make. And anytime that trust requires isolation, meaning that you ask a person to eliminate a person from their life or ask them not to have the person in your life, then that is not extending trust to your partner. What it's doing is it's exposing your emotional insecurity. Okay. And so, or it could be in some cases exposing that there hasn't been that discussion about shared expectations about how a healthy relationship can exist with a opposite sex partner. Would you agree?
Definitely, yes, I definitely agree with that. So, and I've been there, right? I've been in this situation where I was the one that wasn't trusted, and hard to wrap, it's hard to be in that situation. So, go
May I
ahead.
ask you a question before you jump into point number two?
Yeah.
So when you didn't feel trusted in that relationship, what did you ultimately end up doing to navigate that space?
I jump through hoops all the time to try to talk about it and work with my partner and say, I love you. Please let me know when something's not feeling right so we can work on it together. But ultimately, I didn't have a partner that was able to, what we talked about last time, to respond instead of reacting. So there was always a reaction, like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? Right? And so it fell apart. I was always living tense about what am I going to be blamed of? What am I going to be accused of next? And and so then it was just playing off this fear, playing off of each other.
I can totally see that because I've worked with clients before that did want their partner at the time not to be in opposite sex friendships or otherwise, as far as like even people that they would work with or um, and so that's exactly what happened to their relationship. It went south really quick because they could never trust their partner, even when they were expressing, I'm going out with so and so, this is what we're doing. They always were looking for some violation of this trust, and there was none. And so what we're both describing is it's important to look inwards about why is this feeling like I can't extend the trust, and or on the opposite side of it is what can I do so my partner will feel trust. And so as we're going through these points, I'll let you take number two. I just want our audience to know that we're going to navigate all of these different things, and there's probably even more than what we're going to share today.
Right. And please let us know if you're watching and make sure to subscribe and hit like for us. So we're really grateful that you're here. All right. So number two, character. This is so important. We always circle back to character, right? That it matters more than gender, right? So it isn't really, can men and women be friends, right? But do these friendships demonstrate integrity, respect, and appropriate boundaries, right? And so there was, for an example, there was an ex-boyfriend that would, when he talked to me, he would try to talk to me in an inappropriate manner. So I couldn't talk to him. And I let him know I cannot talk to you if you're going to be this way, right? And and put that boundary down. So because that is jeopardizing, it was jeopardizing my relationship with my current partner, right? And so this is, I mean, a healthy boundary, and healthy people create these healthy friendships that have boundaries and that are in in with integrity for all and very clearly defined, and speaking up for what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. You have to be able to judge this person's character. The one, I mean, in that case, the one that was being inappropriate, that's not appropriate, right? So you have to be a good judge of character. Is this person going to hurt my relationship? Is his character, what he's showing to me, the way he's interacting, going to hurt or not? And then you have to be able to be strong in your convictions to keep your relationship safe.
That's exactly it. So keeping the relationship safe with your partner means that when things aren't appropriate, that you speak to them right away, because absence of speaking to, like you said, your friend, if you didn't speak up to that and they were continuing to go down that line that you asked them not to do, you're right, it's totally going to derail your partnership. And that's the least thing that you want, because why else would you be in the partnership? So it's important to, like you said, to take the accountability and responsibility to have those conversations, even when hard. I mean, a lot of times our friends have been around longer than our partners sometimes. And so, um, one of the other things, like as we were talking through this, is, it's not all about today's topic. It's not all about all the things that we need to shut down. Well, there's also some positive things that I like to share about having relationships with the opposite sex, and that's having diverse relationships is going to enrich our lives. And it does another thing. If you expect your partner to fulfill all of your different basic needs, whether it's someone that can provide different perspectives on life, challenge our ways of thinking, encouraging our personal growth, not everybody will have all of the same likes, interests, aptitudes, and certain things. And so it's nice when you have someone that you can have those intellectual conversations with about areas of interest. You can honor those recreational needs. And say you like, hiking. You can go out with someone that likes to do that. The thing is, really, is by having these opposite sex friends, it's not taking away from the relationship, as we, are responsible and do all the things that need to stay into place to create that transparency and safety. So, Mariquita, what can you say about that?
Well, when you're hiding things, that's really causes all sorts of problems and chaos in a relationship. When you're being honest, and that's what I always said, I'm going to be honest about who I'm hanging out with, right? Because I see that when you're not honest, I mean that's just you're asking for huge trouble. So I always felt like good about myself because I was being honest and saying, this is who I'm talking to. This is what's going on. Now, if that person isn't able to handle that, then that's when you have to navigate these issues. But yes, secrecy and hiding people is terribly it's terribly destructive to a relationship. Not only do you have to always be just remembering things, oh, I can't say that, or it might slip up, and then it's going to maybe make it worse, that sound worse than it really is, right? But it's not healthy to have things hidden with your partner. To be able to speak openly about friendships is essential, right? You want to also introduce your friends to your partner so they're not thinking, who is this person, right? Who is this person oh my gosh, this guy has a reputation or this girl has a reputation, right? So when we come out in the open and then say, hey, how are you feeling about this to your partner? Having conversations, right? And then you don't always have to hang out only with the person. You can also do things with your partner if they want to kind of meet that person so they can feel better. So when you take away all this hiding, then you're not going to, I mean, it's impossible to say it's everything will be always fixed, but you're going to lessen the chances of any issues or suspicion when you come out and talk about these things ahead of time. It's essential.
I believe that it is essential. And you brought up some really good points here that I wanted to highlight. And the fact that you said is when I am with someone, I say I'm going out with so and so, this is what we're going to be doing. And then added, you can ask your partner, can my friend come with us and we go do something together? Now, not all friends have to be best friends, like, and so that doesn't necessarily have to happen, but extending the invitation to your partner and to your friend, hey, can the three of us or four of us go out and then do some things together? I think that inclusion, at least the invitation, is something that's important because if someone's your friend and you value them for all these different things, there should be no reason why you couldn't uh, commingle in a similar space or even have shared things that you do like to do. So I think that really lends to the next topic that we're going to talk about, and this about that healthy boundary that you had referred to. And so the way that we do this is, first of all, we have to honor our partner's comfort or discomfort, right? So if they say, "Hey, I'm great. You can go out with so and so. Just let me know, when you'll be home." Great. But if it's like the opposite, like, "Hey, you're hanging out with so and so, and I'm not thinking that they have good intentions. I'm not really happy with this. You can go, but I'm not happy about this." Then there's an underlying something, and so you know unpacking that with your partner to find out what it is that's making them uncomfortable, because it could very well be that person's character. They're seeing this character, and they're being blind to it maybe, and they're trying to bring it to you because they love and care about you. You gotta listen, you know or you should want to listen. And then if it's something that's more of an insecurity, then you got to figure out, okay, what are you insecure about? And that's where you can come up with agreements and boundaries about what is something that could be agreed upon. And so maybe it's like, okay, I would prefer that you only be in public spaces when you go out. You could say that would be preferred, or you need to leave your phone on, and so I can call you at any time, and it shouldn't be any problem. These are also safety measures too. Um, so really doing those couple of things. And now you had said something about being transparent and open. I would also add to that is, I think it's fine that you would have a private conversation with somebody. So I don't think that anyone should be sitting and listening and checking texts and all of that, because I think that's a whole different issue if we're not trusting someone's integrity, both your partner or their friend, because you and I talked about that before. Whether or not you should, share your text, hand over your phone, and I think that you should be able to have private conversations. However, you gotta keep everything into check. And when you're having those private conversations, if they're going somewhere they shouldn't be, well, then it's on you to not be going there, because there's consequences for that.
Well, yeah, everyone has a right to privacy. So there's the difference between privacy and secrecy. I mean, when we're having secrets, it's different because we when we want to respect our partner and respect our friends. Maybe you're telling me something that you don't want everyone to know, so you're going to ask me to keep it private. Is that hurting my partner? No. And there's a difference. And I can easily say, Linda had trusted me with this private matter. And so I'm going to honor her trust just like I honor your trust. So yeah, and that's a boundary, right? And so that's what's so important when we do have these healthy boundaries. We're building confidence in our relationships because we're actually talking about these things, right? And boundaries aren't restrictions, they're something to keep everyone safe, right? I mean, this is something that we need to talk about, and where should how should we navigate this so everyone feels safe, so we do have boundaries. We can't just be it's like we can't just do whatever we want without thinking about anyone else. That's not safe. So these are agreements that protect, what really matters the most to the partnership. And how do you find that out? By communicating together calmly and peacefully, right? And we have to be aware that when we're in these relationships, we don't want to have emotional intimacy, right? And to have these deep, soulful conversations that are really for your one partner, because that brings that emotional intimacy, that closeness, and that's going to start to hinder and destroy your relationship with your partner. So you've got to be mindful of how you're communicating with someone. I mean, there's a difference, a way of communicating in a romantic relationship than a platonic relationship. And platonic relationships, I don't share all my wounds or speak in manners of love. I mean, there are different words and, nuances you would use. So you've got to be real careful with that, right? And then if something's coming up, always, if your partner's feeling uncomfortable about it, not to remember to not be on the defensive, but to hear them out and say, yes, I want to hear what's causing this issue. I want to make you feel safe. So how can we work through this together? How can we come together so everyone feels safe?
Yeah, exactly. That mutual agreement where you can come together, and you did tease out that you can have an intimate relationship that's platonic as opposed to romantic, and that you know I would add to that is that if you're put yourself in a place in a space where your friend or friends are replacing the time and attention and care that you would give to your partner, that's when it becomes problematic. That's usually when it's going down the wrong way. And your partners, that's when they're nudging at you like, hey, why are you going out with, him? Or, why are you going out with her when you should be, spending your time with me, going out with me? I want to be there for you. And so that's where those conversations can often crop up if you're going too far. And when I say too far, I mean blurring. You can blur boundaries, and you can blur intimacy and all these things. So it's not like you can have a conversation with your partner that's a one and done, like a premarital conversation about what the role that your opposite sex friends will play or not play. No, you're always going to be addressing that as people, flow in and flow out. It is different people come in, they have different character, they have different interests, they have all kinds of different things going on. And so, being open to addressing it as it comes up, especially, as somebody might, if you have a partner that's a little bit more insecure about it, not really sure how to tread that, and the worst thing you can do is to, like you said, be defensive or shut them down for wanting to ask some honest open-ended questions about what they observe and what they think's going on, and then for you to be truthful to answering those questions.
Yeah, and what you said was so important is that we always have to be checking in with our partner. It's not a one done deal. Is that what you said?
Yeah, one and done. It's not a
One and
one and
done,
done.
one and done. It's not a one and done. If you have a relationship, you always want to say, "Hey, what did you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" We can't just assume because one is good that the rest are going to be good. You always have to have those kind of conversations with check-ins with your partner to see where you're standing. Is there some way I can support you in this, or are you feeling okay? If we don't communicate, we're not taking care of the relationship.
And that's right. We want to nurture our relationships. And so because we've been having such a great conversation today, I kind of forgot. What number are we on now?
I think we're on 6.
We're on number 6. Okay. So, yes, I believe that will be yours. And so go ahead and touch upon that.
Okay. See, I can't keep up with it either because now we're having such an in-depth conversation, which is good. It's part of a healthy relationship. Okay. So security comes from behavior, right? So what are our behaviors that we're exhibiting? So, and that's very important again, that we're not reacting, but we're responding thoughtfully, right? People feel safe because of repeated trustworthy actions, not because friendships are prohibited. Trust has already been built, the foundation, the character, right? You know who this person is. You've seen them before, and you've built trust with each other, right? And it's not because you're saying, oh, you can't talk to any men or any women. No, this consistency, the building of trust, is what creates the confidence in the relationships.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to touch upon another sensitive one here, number 7. And that's I want everyone to understand that jealousy is information, not instruction. So what do I mean by that? I mean that feeling jealous doesn't automatically mean that the other person did something wrong. It's telling you, I'm feeling jealous because of XYZ. So it's usually what you can ask yourself is, what is this feeling telling me? Is there maybe a boundary that I need to clarify with my partner? Is there reassurance that I'm needing? Or is it something that's occurring and I'm witnessing and it's triggering an old wound? So all of those things can play into the conversation to complicate it, right? So jealousy is one of those things that it's a behavior, a feeling that any one of us could have it at any time. And it is, jealousy is something that's usually an underlying thing that has more to do with us, but something's triggering it. And so what I advocate is, if you're feeling jealous about your partner spending time with someone of the opposite sex, or you're feeling jealous that you're wishing they would spend more time with you, both of those things are valid. And so unpacking it and just saying, I'm feeling a little jealous when you're going out with so and so going dancing. That's something that's close and personal, and I feel like that's between us. For example, there's one there. And then the other one, the old wound, it could be like something's occurring that they're witnessing from their past. And you could say, in my past, when this thing would come up, this would tend to happen. And so I'm feeling a little bit insecure right now because I'm seeing this thing happen. Now, I know you're not them. However, the situation could be something more or less than what I'm observing. And can we talk about that? And so even just me saying that out loud sounds a little uncomfortable, because that means you're going to have this direct conversation about some things that might be a little sensitive, and just going to it, whether you're on the side of the person that's feeling the jealous part, you're insecure and you got to say, hey, I'm being insecure about this, or I had this happen in the past. Or if you're on the other side, on the receiving end, knowing that you're hoping that the person's not accusing you of something, and then you're like, I'm not doing this, I tell you everything. This always never thing that can escalate and everyone's reacting, kind of what you had mentioned when we had opened up about how you had a partner that always was trying to probe about things, and things that weren't necessarily a problem. But in their mind, they were, and so
Yeah.
there's that friction. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and that can just build up too. I got in trouble because I wasn't jealous. You're not jealous of anybody. I was like, well, I trust you. I trust your character. So there are all sorts of things that can come up. And so to communicate lovingly and gently about these issues is the key. So, all right, well, let's move on. So one thing never to forget here is that the primary relationship that you have with your partner has to take precedence over the other ones, right? So your partner can never feel like the second best, right? Healthy friendships shouldn't, I mean, they should not compete with this partnership, right? So your partner should always feel safe, right? They should always feel like they are priority. They should always feel respected, right? And then also that you will be emotionally available for them, that you're reliable, that they can count on you, that that you're always there for them when they need you, right? And so when we have this perception of a relationship like this, then you know that your friends are adding to this beautiful dynamic that you have with your partner. Your partner doesn't have to give you everything. You have the friends that spice up life, right? They're different, like different colors, right? You're not getting everything from your partner, but you, and that takes the pressure off of your partner. So
Yeah.
friends that, they don't replace that emotional investment that your relationship deserves, but they're there to enhance it, like you were saying.
Yeah, and you will know if that's what's going on, if it's enhancing and adding to it rather than distracting and derailing, because your partner, will get to know your friends, right? You guys will do things together, and then they'll say, "Hey, I can see why you value that friend. I can see why you love to hang out with them or have conversations." And so, when that is there, then you got it right. You got the right balance. Everyone's feeling good about things, and you know when you can honestly talk to your partner about things that aren't working for you so well, or your insecurities. When you can do that, then that actually builds trust because you're not sitting there trying to defend and deflect and all of that. Now, did you get to this like level of muscle memory right away? No. I'm going to tell you right now that learning how to speak to a partner and not sometimes get into defensive because you feel like you're being misunderstood, and so then you're trying harder to make your point because you want to be seen of good character. Well, the moment you can kind of like drop that, do we call that ego when we're trying to try to defend our character? So you drop that, and then you're able to be calm and talk through things. And sometimes you might find out things that when you're calm and listening, and the person feels like that you're gonna take in what they're gonna say, they will tell you what you need to hear. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear until you can process it in a whole different way. And then you're not gonna be defensive, because sometimes our partners are never perfect. None of us are perfect, and so we're gonna be irritating, rub people in the wrong way. We might misunderstand our partner. We may not communicate properly with our partner. All these things that can happen. And so what am I saying? Why am I saying all this? Because I don't want you to beat yourself up if you've ever had that reactive reaction to something, or you tried to prove your character, or you tried to do all these different things and it kind of became a tangled mess. Okay, because that can happen. So you have to be, I guess, kind to yourself when you're going down these harder roads, and then you've also got to be compassionate with your partner too, because again, they're not perfect either. And so the more you can go into conversation without needing to fight to win or to defend your character and prove your worth, those types of conversations, the better off you're going to get. And that's going to build your relationship, because when you can talk to someone about something and they're not going to fly off the handle when the moment you bring it up, or maybe shut down. You want to talk to people in a way that we're not shutting them down either, because that could also be an issue.
Definitely. So everyone that's listening, I mean, every couple is different, right? That these shared standards matter more than universal rules. So having these conversations with your partner, instead of saying like what's allowed in our relationship, ask, something like, what makes you feel safe? What agreements help both of us feel respected and valued, and so that we can have a healthy relationship and have these healthy boundaries where both partners are getting all their needs met with themselves and with other people. So, and what's wonderful is I actually said to one of my boyfriends, I wish you had some female friends, because I wanted those female friends to explain to him how I was feeling. I thought if he had more female friends, then he could understand me better. So it's really interesting how it does benefit your relationships sometimes.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I believe you just touched upon number 9. So I'm going to take us to number 10. And so integrity is doing the same thing in private as in public. Okay, so you're the same person in both places. And so, that's the same quote. You show up in the room and things are being said, whether you're in the room and you can hear them, or you're outside the room and can hear them, or you're in the room saying them, you're outside the room saying them. It's the same thing. And so, anything that you're doing uh, with your friend, whether you're in public or private, it shouldn't be making your partner feel uncomfortable. Um, because if any of these things are happening out in the private and your partner's uncomfortable, and you're not talking about uh holding integrity, if that's happening, because you're responsible for holding high integrity of your relationship. And so there shouldn't be all of these secretive things happen. You should be sharing, where you're going, who you're doing things with. We said that earlier. And as we are like bringing this to closure for today's conversation, we always want to ask you, the audience, a reflective question. And so here is the question that we're going to ask today. Would your partner feel welcomed into every friendship you have, or are there relationships that depend on distance, secrecy, or emotional exclusivity to survive? So that's a very loaded question. And we're leaving it with you for a reason, because the answer to that question is going to reveal more about the health of your relationship than simply whether somebody is of the opposite sex, gender. Okay, it's not about whether that's acceptable. No, it's answering those 3 things inside that question there.
Right. So, yes, and you take your time, look at your relationship. You don't have to answer it right away. Actually, think about it as much as you can, and talk to your partner about it. How are you feeling? So wonderful. Thank you for that, Linda. And you know what, y'all, again, please subscribe and like, and let us know your comments, your questions. I'd like to share with you our next event, if that sounds good. All right. So, our next event, if you didn't attend our first one, which was fabulous, is August 14th. It is at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's called Seeing Clearly, Green Flags, Red Flags, and the Power of Discernment, right? So, this is for anyone that's thinking about dating. It's for somebody that might be dating now, right? It's really to learn about relationships, right? To choose, so you'll be able to choose relationships that align with your values, right? And your future. So you're not going in blindly. You want to see clearly. You don't want to be overwhelmed by chemistry and heartbeats and all this fluttering butterflies and all this. No, we want somebody that is going to align with what we want for the future. So, healthy relationships do not begin with chemistry alone, they begin with discernment. And now I'm going to let Linda share a little bit more about our event.
Yes, thank you very much, Mariquita. So, what I'd like to share about the event is not your typical red flag versus green flag picking them out. We all can pick them out. No, what we're going to be speaking to is a signature process that Mariquita and I have developed, where we take a person through 4 words of how to discern while they're in that dating environment. And what the goal of this model is to quickly and clearly be able to figure out where we're at in any place of the dating cycle. And so knowing that there's certain things that happen as you're going through that journey. And so it's all about the art of asking better questions in 4 different areas. So I'm not going to give away what we're going to be speaking to as far as the model that we're going to take you through, but this is a time where you get to learn the model, the concept. We are going to be in breakout sessions practicing the concept. And then when we are done in our groups, the partners that we're matched with to do these exercises, then we're going to come back together and have a community conversation. And we're going to talk about what we learned as a result of coming to the workshop and learning about this wonderful model of discernment that will forever change the way you go forward in the future.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited for the breakout rooms, what we're going to learn. We all learn all the time from each other. So please make sure to register. You've got to go to www.the-last-first-date.com on the events page and go ahead and register because we can't have, I mean, it's not unlimited. We have to be able to accommodate everyone. So yeah, make sure you get your space now and check out the rest of our web page. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you on the event. So I think that about wraps it up, doesn't it?
It definitely wraps it up. We're just excited to be growing this community. We're excited about all the great things that we're doing, and there's more to come. So if you haven't joined us for any of our sessions, this is your invitation and opportunity to go grab a ticket and join us for an hour of conversational practice of the concepts.
Right, on Zoom, and cameras must be on. So we want to have safety for everyone. So y'all, we're looking forward to seeing you there, and we will see you next week on here or in our Facebook group. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.